CBD. Thank you for joining us on Healthy Living. Stay connected to Voice of America at voanews.com. A look at your kidneys and how they impact your health. And an expert discusses chronic kidney disease and how to protect yourself. And Ivorian psychologist Noor Bakayoko shares some insights on bullying and what can be done.
It's important to avoid major events or major health crises.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
Good evening. It is the 4th of September 2024. This is Prime Edition on KBC Channel 1. Before we bring you up to speed with those stories that have been making headlines in the last 8 hours or so, quick brainer between a 50 kg bag of cement and a 50 kg bag of feathers, which is heavier? As you ponder on that, the highlights. Eyes on the AU Commission chairmanship. President Ruto meets 6 African presidents in China and presents Raila Odinga. Betrayal in Kuppet. Secondary school teachers now accuse top union officials of betraying their cause. And government deregisters 20 recruitment agencies for overseas jobs over customer deception. Good evening, I'm Regina Manyara, and my colleague on sign language is none other than Brian Moraro. Now, President William Ruto, who is in Beijing, China, has held talks with 6 African presidents to discuss bilateral ties and drum up support for Raila Odinga's candidacy for the African Union Commission chairmanship. Ruto, who was accompanied by Raila, held talks with presidents of Faure Azomina, Gazme of Togo, Asmi Goita of Mali, Paul Kagame of Rwanda, Umaro Sisco Embalo of Guinea-Bissau, Mahamat Idris Diaby of Chad, and Hakinande Chilema of Zambia.
Thank you very much. Yes.
The meeting comes just days after President William Ruto held a similar forum in Nairobi with heads of state from the East African as he unveiled the candidacy of Raila Odinga, who will be battling it out for the African Union chairmanship. The president expressing Kenya's commitment to enhancing bilateral relations with these nations for the mutual benefit of the citizens. According to the president, Kenya will explore opportunities for increased diplomatic, trade and people-to-people ties with countries in the continent to enhance intra-African interactions and business. The president told the leaders that Kenya had presented Raila's candidature for the position of the African Union Commission chairperson because he is an accomplished Pan-Africanist, a champion of integrated infrastructure, and committed to peace and security in the continent. Giverson Minor, Prime Edition.
On that particular trip also, we understand that President William Ruto met with a delegation from IMF. We're going to be keeping tabs on what were the outcomes of that particular conversation. Now, the government has deregistered 20 recruitment agencies for duping Kenyans with fake job opportunities. Appearing before the National Assembly Diaspora Affairs and Migrant Workers Committee, National Employment Authority Director General Edith Okoki said some of the deregistered companies had attempted to seek fresh registration using different names but were flagged. Now, the authority, without giving names, indicated that several politicians were attempting to protect those rogue agencies.
A total of 20 recruitment agencies have been registered or denied registration due to various reasons, and the authority vetted and registered 789 private recruitment agencies involved in registration and placement of job seekers locally and abroad. The authority also trained 321 private employment agencies on introductory international recruitment integrity, and 23 private employment agencies enrolled in the International Recruitment Integrity System, which we call IRIS, and for capacity building program, and 2 of these were audited for compliance with international standards.
The Auditor General Nancy Gathongo now wants counties barred from operating multiple bank accounts that have been cited as avenues to siphon public funds. Appearing before the Senate's Public Investment Committee, the Auditor General said counties, some operating more than 100 bank accounts, have used them to divert public resources, yet they should have their money in a central bank. Now, the proposal came during a committee session between the Office of the Auditor General and the Senate's Public Investment Committee. The Auditor General Nancy Gathongo also urging parliamentary committees to only consider audit documents approved by her office, questioning the authenticity of some documents before audit committees of Parliament.
Loopholes when it comes to the issue of management of public, especially sponsors and also public money. That if you don't think outside the box and try to look at all those places, then you will not be able to, you'll just be giving us figures, but I'm sure those people who are collecting and reporting will just be laughing and saying, it's just giving us what we know.
Are there potential for leakages in cases where counties are running multiple accounts for very specific services that they're providing for their people? Because this has been a very serious issue that is emanating in this committee, and we don't know that to excuse it. Will you advise the committee to be able to think about reducing the number of accounts as much as possible?
Or the accounts not being utilized for the specific purpose, or sometimes you'll find a dormant account in 1 year or for 2-3 years, and then suddenly it receives money. The money comes in and goes out, so we follow and we find, no, it was a vehicle to put aside. Yeah, I think you also understand.
Are you trying to say a vehicle for eating?
The government, through the Ministry of Education, has affirmed its directive banning extracurricular activities during the third term school year. The measure, which was first implemented in 2021, is set to give students ample time for academic work, as well as eradicating any chances of exam malpractice, even as candidates in secondary schools prepare to sit for their final national exams. John Cairo reports.
Has once again reiterated its ban on any extracurricular activities and visits in school during third-term session of learning. In a letter sent by KBC Channel 1, the Ministry of Education has called on regional, county and sub-county directors of education to strictly enforce the directive by ensuring that any activities outside classworks are not conducted. The measure, which is set to give students ample time to focus on classwork, is also aimed at curbing any likelihood of exam irregularities as students gear up to take their final exams. The Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education is set to officially kick off early November 2024. The ban on extracurricular activities was introduced in 2021. John Kahiro, Prime Edition.
A section of members of the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers has opposed the move by the union officials to call off the teachers' strike. The union members drawn from the counties argue that the move by national officials was not consultative, terming it a betrayal of Kenyan teachers. The officials say, following the concession, they fear their demands may never be met.
Barely 48 hours after the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers called off the nationwide strike, cracks appear to have developed, with union members drawn from the grassroots reading malice. According to Migori Branch Executive Secretary Samuel Orwa Jasolo, the decision to call off the strike that had clocked a week was not well thought out.
This thing was at the time that the teachers believed that we were going to achieve some of the demands that we had put before the Teacher Service Commission. But all of a sudden, without any notice, the Secretary General comes on media and declares the strike off. This is not just a betrayal, but it is an affront to the collective resolve of the teachers of this country.
He questioned why the strike was called off just 24 hours after the National Executive Council of KUPPET had held a series of consultative meetings and resolved to continue with their course until their demands are met.
We were in Nairobi on Sunday, up to late in the evening, and the resolve was that the strike continues. What happened between Sunday and Monday?
The script was the same in Busia County, with the KUPPET Executive Secretary Moffat Okisai dissociating the county union officials from the decision to call off the strike.
Only one demand was met, that's the implementation of the CBA, whereby a number of teachers benefited by having been given 1,000 shillings and below. So since the National Governing Council had not been sanctioned, we would like to dissociate ourselves from that particular pronouncement.
The disquiet was also felt in Homa Bay County, with members maintaining no clear reasons were provided for ending the strike abruptly.
We are back in class, but we are not happy with our national leadership, and teachers are putting a lot of pressure on our leaders at the branch, so that we want the national leadership out.
There was need to give the indicators of the calling off of the strike, which was never done. It was brought to the teachers' attention from the media, the press, rather than through the NGC and the branch offices at the various sub-county and county levels.
We came abruptly to class without clear guidance on why we were told to go back to class.
Similar sentiments resonated in Kakamega County.
We were not involved as the strike was called off. And therefore, teachers are waiting to hear from the Secretary General exactly why he called off the strike and what was given to the teachers during that time.
Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
That is a developing story that we're going to continue keeping tabs on. Now to some sad news. One person was killed and tens of thousands families actually displaced in Kaptembwa area of Nakuru County following heavy rains that pounded the area last evening. The downpour also left a deep gully near Everready area and a few meters from the Nakuru Eldoret Highway. The deceased was a Catholic catechist at St. Patrick Church in Gata.
In Kaptembwa, Nakuru County, the residents are still reeling with shock following sudden heavy downpour and flash floods that swept through the area, claiming the life of one person. The deceased was identified as Sami Taras Maiyo, a Catholic catechist at St. Patrick Church in Gata.
Tulipata pikipiki wakati wa jioni na pia tumeweza kuretrieve the body which has been taken to the mortuary by the police. Kwa sababu najua mvua itaendelea, wananchi wanatakana wajihatarishe kwa sababu kuna hizi fault lines nyingi hapa Nakuru ambayo maji yanaweza kuwa yanapita chini na haujui.
According to residents, Mayo was on a motorbike when he was swept away by the floods at Everready roundabout along the Nakuru Eldoret highway.
Ilikuwa saa moja na jamaa tulijaribu kumuokoa, ikashindikana kumuokoa. Tulikuwa watu 10. Tulijaribu kumuokoa ikashindikana.
The storm water that resulted from heavy downpour on Tuesday evening also displaced tens of families in Kaptembo area.
Ni nyumba 10 ambazo zimeharibiwa na maji ilijaa ambapo hata hakuna kitu iliyokolewa kwa hizo manyumba.
Sijaweza hata kwenda shule kwa sababu sina kitu yote kuvaa. Jungu sikuweza kuokoa kitu yoyote. Na sasa hivi mimi hata sioni masomo yangu kaitendelea. Sasa mimi sijui nitafanya nini.
Juu hatuna pesa, hatuna pa kwenda, hakuna mavazi, hakuna malazi. Sasa tuko tu labda msamaria tu akuone huruma, akuchukua akusaidie.
Following the downpour, a sinkhole of about 10 meters wide also developed near Everready, causing an electric pole to sink. Nakuru West Sub-County Security Team, KENHA and KPLC and other county officials visited the scene, and the area has been cordoned to avert any possible danger. Kasi Chanamasha, Prime Edition.
Now, motorists plying that road need to be more, aware of that particular gully. And we have an update from the Met Department that may make the next 4 days, 4 days to be very cautious on how you dress and where you're driving at, as well as the conditions that you're driving in. Do not go away. We'll be right back.
Zawadi za kila wiki, 100,000 kila wiki, 250,000 kila wiki. Uamuzi ni wako. Sasa Ruto kwenye holiday bonanza hii inakuletea game mpya kupitia *570# option 4 na ujishindie up to 250,000 Kenyan shillings ukiwa nyumbani. Na draw ni ya kila wiki, na kupata tikiti yako ni kupitia *570# pekee option 4, na tikiti yako ikitufikia inaingia ndani ya drum.
Nilikwambia unitumie picha ya redes only. Atito ni rede. Hata ukiangalia vizuri kabisa Atito ni musijana.
Agupi ngiteni tausandi. Achiga Kenya saa yone.
Aiwe, you're too close, Akibu.
Nakuuliza, wewe wakati ulikucha hapo ulipata ni nani amekongwa?
Wewe ukisema nilipeni niende.
Na sasa nikikongwa, pilipili ambaye inaikuchoma inakuhusu nani? Hiyo parapara wewe uko unaiona vizuri, na ndio sababu uko na macho ine. Na ndio ukatoka kwa kando kunikonga, na nilikuwa kwa pedestrian.
Makosa ulifanya. Ni kujigongeza kwa futi mblinji. Ati kwa sababu umeona jamani masini alafu iko spindi. Ukajigongeza na unajuanga tu jamani masini vile siko. Wewe ni mjinga wa wapi? Si ungeenda mahali kuko express.
Sasa mimi na wewe nani mjinga?
Ni wewe.
This is Prime Edition. Now, the Kenya Meteorological Department has predicted intermittent cold and cloudy conditions over parts of the country in the next 4 days. Rainfall is expected to continue over some parts of the highlands, east and west of the Rift Valley, the Lake Victoria Basin, Rift Valley, and the coast. This as Nairobi residents woke up to a chilly weather Wednesday in a month that is traditionally warm.
At the Central Business District, Nairobi residents are heavily clothed, cardigans, scarves and boots as they seek warmth after the unexpected cold weather in September. The motorcycle riders are some of the most affected as customers shy off from using motorbikes due to the cold and windy weather.
Kwa sababu wakati kuna mvua, baridi ni nyingi na mara nyingi makasama wetu wanaogopa kupanda pikipiki sababu ya mvua. So wakati inanyesha hivi tunaathirika sana, kazi hakuna kabisa.
Hii mabadiliko imetustua, shauri imeenda mwezi mzima. Tulikuwa nafikiri itaisha mwezi wa 8, tunaona imeingia tena mwezi wa 9.
Customers wanakuja wakoreani wako wachache kwa sababu mtu anaprefer gari kwanza kwa sababu ya mvua na hii baridi. So my customers wamepungua kidogo.
However, some have opted to make do with umbrellas on their motorbikes.
Leo unaona tunajaribu kuweka hizi umbrella, so inabidi tu tufanye kazi. Shauri kuna wale lazima wanategemea hizi, lazima waende kazi.
Kama vuli sababu ya manyunyu, ile manyunyu iko ya baridi na ni mvua ndio inatusumbua sababu tunaweka hiyo mavuli.
The youth say this has also disrupted their dressing code as they anticipated a summer weather in September as we head into the festivities.
We usually plan years-long worth of outfits, you know, because you automatically know in July it's going to be rainy, in September it's going to be a little bit of summer. But now this change has you reshuffling your whole wardrobe as compared to the previous years where we knew, you know, starting from September, October, November, it's time for holidays. So it's going to be like a hot season, you know, go to the beach and everything. But since I think last year, it's been quite cold, and I don't think a lot of people are prepared for that because actually mentally, you know, physically, at our clothes-wise.
This comes as the public calls on the government to invest and improve on preparedness to avoid being caught unawares.
Really pop up on doing investigation very nicely so that we get daily information.
The government should look into drainage and facilities in case it gets into the worst case scenario, which hopefully it doesn't. We should plan on housing. I feel it would be better if the government was able to raise awareness in the youth about why this is happening and what climate change actually includes and how we can help, you know, affect climate change in a positive way.
This even as they attributed the changes to climate change.
Maybe it's about global warming because everything is not in balance. Tumezoea September kuna kuanga na joto. Sai kuna baridi ingine excess, mvua ndio hiyo. Alafu venye unaona weather haiko constant.
On the website, the Kenya Meteorological Department forecast that from the 4th to 8th of September, Kenyans should brace themselves for intermittent cold and cloudy conditions over several parts of the country, among them the highlands, east and west of the Rift Valley, the southeastern lowlands of the Rift Valley. Rainfall is expected to continue over some parts of the highlands, east and west of the Rift Valley, the Lake Victoria Basin, the Rift Valley on the coast. It's turning out to be a conundrum for the city dwellers given the uncertainty in the change of weather, hoping the Kenya Meteorological Department will this time come to their aid on the predictions. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition from the CBD, Nairobi.
So we'll not be enjoying some sun for the next 4 days, but we are hoping that September is going to bring in some sunshine. Now, the Acting Inspector General of Police, Gilbert Masengeli, has committed to take divisive action against a rising wave of crime and criminal gangs terrorizing Mombasa residents. Speaking during the visit at the National Police Service stand during the first day of the Mombasa International ASK show, Masengeli revealed that the Coast Security team has put in place measures aimed at ensuring security of residents and the participants. These measures include intensified police patrols, increased deployment of police officers to hotspot areas, and community policing. This, Masengeli says, will ensure that gang activities are quickly identified and addressed.
The measures we've put in place to ensure that the gangs are well managed in Mombasa County. We have the security agencies deployed in patrol those areas. We have enhanced security patrols.
We have the officers coordinating with the local hotspot areas. They are deployed there to ensure that it does not happen, and also investigating. The DCI are also investigating those incidents that have happened to ensure that we get the real culprits and their due process is followed by taking them, arresting them, taking them to court, and the justice being done to those who have been violated. Also, we would request the members of the public who might be knowing those criminals doing that to also inform the police through the DCI feature number.
Now from Mombasa to Meru County, where residents of Igembe North have been issued with over 35,000 title deeds by the Ministry of Lands. While issuing the documents, Lands Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome promised to issue another 7,000 titles in the neighboring Tharaka Nithi County by next week. The CS committing that the ministry will soon set up a new lands registry in the area as a move of taking government services closer to the people. The CS, who was also accompanied by Lands Principal Secretary Nixon Korir, said her office will collaborate with local elected leaders in the area to resolve issues of title deeds. She said currently the ministry has 100,000 titles ready for issuance to owners across the country.
Sababu shida haiwezi kuisha leo ya registry. Mumesema munaenda bari sana, munaenda Maua, maybe unalipa 100 kurudi ni 100 500. Tutakubaliana kutoka Monday. Generali yako hapa, my principal secretary atampangia registrar mwingine, yule atafanya kazi ya hapa constituency yenu.
Hizo ni titles za Amwathi 2C, Nathu B, Amwathi Mutwati 1A na Atuambui. So hizo titles, kuna titles zingine ambazo bado tuko nazo.
Now, over 8,000 healthcare, medical, lab professionals and exhibitors are meeting at Nairobi's Kenyatta International Convention Center for a 2-day Medic and MedLab East Africa Convention. The event offers a platform to bring hospital managers, medical manufacturers, key government leaders and medical experts into the same room for discussions on the industry's most pressing issues. Exhibitors and experts are examining several concerns, including the state of digital health services, the brain drain of healthcare professionals, and exploring new ways to manage medical labs.
The main focus of this show is to empower the East African healthcare community, and it has been endorsed by the Minister of Health of Kenya as well. So we have exhibitors here from not only Kenya, but Uganda, Ethiopia, Rwanda.
The different OEMs, they have been presenting their solutions, ranging from different products, right, from radiology, disposables, laboratory products, as well as IT in healthcare.
Off to the counties now, where the Kenya County Government Workers Union has given the Public Service Commission and Ministry of Public Service 21 days to include county government workers in their ongoing salaries review, failure to which they will paralyze services at the devolved units. Meanwhile, nurses in Nakuru County have begun a go-slow to demand their July-August salaries. Tilio Marco with a roundup from the county's news roundup.
Solidarity forever.
Kenya County Government Workers Union has given the Public Service Commission and the Ministry of Public Service 21 days to include the county government workers in the ongoing salaries review, failure to which they will paralyze services at the devolved units.
SRC is the one to determine how much each party gets. When they occasionally give in terms of what they call phase 1, phase 2 of salary review for public service, because the Constitution allows them to advise, in some cases to set, it has been omitting county government workers from its consideration.
Meanwhile, nurses in Nakuru County have begun a go-slow to demand their July-August salaries. The more than 500 nurses claim most of them can no longer afford to meet their basic needs.
We have a problem with salaries. We've worked for 2 months in this county and we've not been paid. Tunataka governor asikie, achue watu wake hawana furaha. Tunaumia in this county. Nalipo ya 1 month, of which I believe hiyo pesa yote imeenda kwa madeni.
And contractors in Makueni County are decrying what they term as discrimination by the county government. In a meeting with the Makueni County Governor Mutula Kilonzo Jr., the contractors complain about lack of fairness in allocation of tenders and delayed payments by the county government. Elsewhere, Microsoft has rolled out a comprehensive career and product management program aimed at empowering university students. The initiative is designed to equip students with skills and experience to excel in the fast-evolving tech industry.
If you're looking for stretch assignments in your university, ask your lecturers for some of the stretch assignments you can do. Number 2, take advantage of joining Students Developer Program. The third area is LinkedIn.
In Homa Bay County, Executive Committee member in charge of Fisheries and Blue Economy Dr. John Agili has expressed concern over the persistent conflicts and attacks by Ugandan authorities on Kenyan fishermen in Lake Victoria.
I received reports of harassments that occurred yesterday, where a number of our fishermen were lost their fishing gear.
Finally, a section of Kenya Tea Development Agency directors are calling for disbandment of KTDA holdings after 54 factories signed a vote of no confidence in the recently elected leadership. Led by Gatundu South MP Gabriel Kagombe, the farmers decried poor leadership and embezzlement of funds by the board.
The board of KTDA Management Services, and thereby the entire company and its leadership, has been taken away from farmers and given to strangers whom we don't know.
Tilio Marco for Prime Edition.
Hundreds of stakeholders from the built environment have launched a campaign on sustainable and resilient urban environments accessible to all. The policymakers, researchers, entrepreneurs, and government officials from the Kenya and Belgium say the forum, themed Creating a Sustainable and Inclusive Future, is a movement towards justifiable future for Kenya amidst rapid urbanization. The Kenya Green Building Society CEO Nasran Nanda says participants at the 2-day Nairobi Forum will come up with innovations towards Africa's urban development, paving way for sustainability in the built environment.
Really trying to see how we can build capacity, build relationships, not just nationally, but in a cross-cutting way, with the aim, of course, of not supporting the technical capacity, but the investment opportunity for Kenya. We're actually working, we recently signed an MOU with Mombasa County Government, where one of the projects is certifying a portfolio of several public buildings and certifying them as green. We're hoping that becomes the showcase piece for Mombasa County at COP29.
Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has unveiled a plan he says will help transform the city's central business district. During an audit meeting with the county executive and representatives from the Office of the Auditor General, Governor Sakaja said the comprehensive revitalization program is designed to give the city centre a significant facelift, highlighting a record revenue collection of 12.8 billion shillings. Nairobi Governor has also assured that these funds will be pivotal for the CBD restoration project set to roll out within the 2024-2025 financial year.
CBD restoration program is a priority. We're going to fix all the roads in the CBD. We're going to feed all those potholes. We're going to decouple hawkers. That cat and mouse has ended. It has completely ended. We've done such nice walkways. Yesterday I was on Tomboy. It is so beautiful. Many business people are happy about your unified business permit, the first in the history of this country. All those 6 licenses into one. And if you look at the revenue on unified business permit, it's a record.
Siamini. Amini Usiamini, holiday bonanza ni ya kila mtu na zawadi zitakufikia mahali popote. Dial *570#, chagua option 4 na zawadi kibao zinakungoja. Ikiwa kila wiki kuna 250,000 Kenyan shillings za kushindaniwa. Ni *570# pekee, option 4, tushinde.
Jana yuko huko.
Useme tu umekuja kuniona alafu unacheza chini.
Unajua Jackie yuko amechizi, ni venye tujuange akimeza dawa.
Really? Thank you, Jen. I hope I'm not interrupting anything here.
Nini umempatia?
What do you mean?
You know that man talks more about you than our relationship.
Oh, really?
Mark yana hata ubishi. How comfortable are you here?
Mwanaume anapenda mtu mwenye anamsikiza, anamuelewa na anamuheshimu.
I am not stupid. Sawa. I know when I'm being shortchanged.
This is crazy.
You need to put your mood swings on check.
Butu tukabunde kidogo.
Good evening once again. This is Prime Edition. Now, outgoing Kenya Railways Managing Director, Engineer Philip Mainga, has been lauded for playing a crucial role in the revitalization of the railway sector across the country. Speaking on behalf of members of parliament from constituencies in which the railway crosses in Nairobi, Makadara Member of Parliament George Aladwa expressed satisfaction in the repossession of the Kenya Railways properties that were illegally grabbed by private developers. Engineer Philip Mainga exit comes at a time when the Kenya Railways has prepared a comprehensive commuter railway master plan that outlines new corridors and a subway train network within the cities. The move also aims at easing traffic congestion.
Railways imekuwa ni shirika ambayo tunaipenda na tunaheshimu kwa sababu tuko na stations ambazo wamezindua, wamejenga. Tuko na station hapa kuanzia Makadara constituency kuelekea Embakasi West, Embakasi East, zile constituency ambazo zimebenefit Kibra, Embakasi North, Embakasi South na vile vile Dagoretti North, Dagoretti South. Hizo ni mali railway ambayo inapita wakipeleka zile bidhaa zao, na vile vile kuna vijana wamepata kazi kupitia kwenye shirika hili.
Now, the arid landscapes of Laikipia County have become a boiling point for conflict between pastoralists and farmers, driven by the devastating effects of prolonged drought. Tonight on Cinemas and Theatre, Jacqueline Macharia reviews Searching for Amani, a documentary that follows the story of Simon Ali, a young boy from Laikipia County whose life has been deeply affected by this conflict.
In the heart of Kenya, a tragedy shatters a young boy's life. The documentary Searching for Amani, filmed in Laikipia County, follows Simon Ali, who finds himself in a world of mystery when his father, a respected conservancy guide, is found dead under suspicious circumstances.
Can you tell me a little bit about your dad?
Armed with his video camera and an unwavering desire for truth, Simon and his best friend Harun embark on a dangerous journey to uncover the secrets behind his father's demise.
It's a film that asks so many questions to do with climate change, the impact of climate change on communities, because you realize that in some of these places, the search for resources or the hunger for resources causes conflict in so many different ways.
Mongai, the documentary producer, explains that the decision to focus on Simon's story came after the team received a grant aimed at giving cameras to children in communities around the world who are directly impacted by climate change, allowing them to share their own stories. At the time, Simon was just 13 years old.
There was just something about his personality that just shone. Also at the same time, COVID-19 hit, so also moving and traveling became a bit of a challenge. And we found ourselves spending more and more time with Simon, getting to know him, his story, his family, and his journey. And over time, as we continued spending time with him and his family, the story just evolved and took shape and became this beautiful film that we now are calling Searching for Amani.
First of all, there's somehow difficult and confusing for me because it was my first time given my own camera, and also I never had the experience, not even turning it on or starting recording.
Niko almost kufanana na mzai itabia. Joto wengi wanasema tu ni peace, pia mimi nilimjua kwa alikuwa peacemaker.
Initial filming happened around 2020 and 2021, but then we still kept going back to film more sequences, trying to understand more about the story. Again, you remember that Simon was investigating what happened to his father, and so there were many sort of like phone calls that had to be made, trying to find individuals who had more information about what happened on the fateful day. So there were months of trying to find so many different individuals who were sort of present, and so we had to keep going back and going back and going back.
For those years, it was somehow difficult because I was not able to tell anyone how I felt or tell anyone about my dad, because if you could mention who was your dad or can you tell me about your dad, could not even say a single word.
Today we are learning about environment. If you check around, there is no green anywhere.
Simon, an aspiring journalist, embarks on an investigation into his father's mysterious murder within the boundaries of one of Kenya's largest wildlife conservancies, the Laikipia Nature Conservancy. As a severe drought takes hold, Simon's quest to uncover the truth shifts, and he evolves into an activist revealing the collateral damage caused by a warming world.
Why did they kill him?
We do hear what people go through. Most of the time in the news, we do see what's happening in those areas. We lose people. It's very many people die, of course. And we are not so focused about that. Ourselves, we are just enjoying, visiting, we're looking at the animals, but we don't concentrate much on the ones who are protecting those animals, or those guides that are telling us how those animals are, or giving us that leisure. So what I want the film to portray was for its unity and also understanding.
The documentary has received widespread acclaim after its premiere in June 2024 at the Tribeca Film Festival. It went on to win the Best Director award.
The film has also shown in places such as the Rain Dance Film Festival in UK, where we won Best Documentary. It was also screened at Zanzibar in July. At the moment, we're having a very limited run at Unseen Cinema. Unfortunately, it ends tomorrow, Thursday. That said, this is very preliminary. What we're trying to do is put together some funding and a plan to have a proper premiere, proper screenings, and most important, impact screenings, right? Because we feel that this film should be seen at the very, very grassroots where it was filmed and its other such communities.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
Harambee Stars will kick off their 2025 AFCON qualifiers campaign with a match against Zimbabwe on Friday 6th at the Nelson Mandela Stadium in Kampala, Uganda at 4 p.m. Engine Firak then face Namibia on Tuesday 10th September at the Orlando Stadium in Johannesburg, South Africa at 7 p.m. Catch the matches live on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Well, there you have it now. After Cinemas of Theatre, we are delving into matters business driven by none other than my colleague, Nimon Jenga. Good evening. Good to see you.
Good evening, Regina.
Before you bring us up to speed with what is happening in the business circles, quick question. We asked our audience this morning, between a 50 kg bag of cement and a 50 kg bag of feathers, which is heavier? Do not answer. Give us the bulletin, then we can have that conversation.
Oh, great. That's an easy question, though. I hope you guys get it. But before we get to the answers, and I know Regina will be going through, of course, what you'll be telling her in terms of the responses towards that question. Let's take a look at the day's business news. And, of course, we start off with the latest on the Hustler Fund. Well, consultations are ongoing about revamping the Hustler Fund to make it more effective in addressing the needs of Kenyans while ensuring that borrowers repay their loans. This is according to the Cooperatives and MSMEs Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya, who says Hustler Fund remains crucial in providing seed capital for small businesses. Oparanya made the remarks when he officially took over from his predecessor, Simon Chelugui.
In government announced in July have been handing over ministries in recent weeks. Wednesday was the turn of Simon Chelugui to officially hand over to Wycliffe Oparanya. During the ceremony, Chelugui listed implementation of the Hustler Fund, reforming agriculture-focused cooperatives to ensure farmers are paid on time, and streamlining the cooperative movement as some of his achievements.
Given this transition, there is need to relook at the operation of new KCC, how they handle farmers' payment and how they handle extension services. We're able to support cooperatives to add value to their products. New KCC is an organization that requires careful attention.
Chelugui says the government should consider incorporating the private sector to provide low-cost capital to businesses to help unlock finance for businesses at the bottom of the pyramid.
Many circles in Kenya are looking for affordable technology services, a secure technological platform. But this has not been achievable because of the cost involved. So with the shared services, we are able to now utilize singular technology and be able to promote the cooperative circle movement.
Oparanya says the amending of the Cooperative Societies Act will help address wrangles that have plagued the management of SACCOs.
In the cooperative sector, there has been a lot of challenges, especially governance issues that have been there, and I'm happy that you came up with the amendments to the cooperative bill that now is before the National Assembly.
Ndutamokami for Prime Edition.
Kenyan businesses experienced a mild recovery in August as the impact of the earlier protests began to subside, according to the latest Stanbic Bank Purchase Managers Index. The survey shows that business activities improved marginally, with new orders gradually increasing as firms largely resumed normal operations. While input purchases also increased, employment levels fell for the first time this year. The Stanbic Bank Kenya Purchase Managers Index bounced back from a reading of 43.1 to 50.6 in August, signaling a renewed but modest improvement in private sector business conditions. The pace of expansion in August 2024 remained marginal. Readings above 50 signal an improvement in business conditions on the previous month, while readings below 50 show a deterioration. Business activity and output levels rose for the first time in 3 months, largely due to the waning of political demonstrations, allowing businesses to resume trading and complete pending orders.
Output increased across 3 to 5 broad sectors, with services, wholesale and retail, and construction showing renewed growth. However, activity declined in the manufacturing and agriculture sectors. New orders also picked up in August, though the increase was slight as some firms continue to report weak customer spending. Despite these gains, firms reduced their staff numbers, marking the first employment decline in 2024. Standard Bank economist Christopher Legilisho says private sector is recovering only marginally. Output and new orders improved after a slump in the preceding months as anti-tax protests have been fizzling out. However, concerns about consumer spending remain, with many firms noting weak overall demand in tougher economic and business environments. As a result, firms cut employment after 7 months of robust hiring, leading to an increase in work backlogs. Now moving on, Kenya will next month hold bilateral talks with the United States on direct horticulture and tea sales. Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service Managing Director Theophilus Mudhui says Kenya is keen on planning to start avocado, herbs and spices and tea exports to the US next year.
Kenya shipped products valued at 64 billion shillings in 2023 to the US, down from 80 billion shillings in 2022. To boost exports, Kenya is focusing on increasing shipments of horticulture and tea to the US. Talks between the two nations scheduled for next month will focus on direct shipments of avocado, herbs, spices and tea. Kenya has resumed coffee exports to China with an initial sale of 835 tons of coffee since the market was reopened late last year. This year, China has imported 9,183 tons of tea and 244 tons of avocado.
This year, we have exported 9,183 tons of tea to China, over 835 tons of coffee, and over 245 tons of avocado to China.
To increase the quality of Kenyan export produce, KEFIS is increasing fake seed surveillance.
Using this is a basic item that is very critical in terms of ensuring sustainable agriculture, ensuring food security.
Benson Drioba reporting for Prime Edition.
Kenyan small businesses are among those set to benefit from a 5-year support program to improve their operations and power their growth. The fund from venture capitalist 54 collective targets tech-enabled businesses such as fintech, health tech, agri-tech, logistics and e-commerce.
The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics indicates that there are over 7.4 million MSMEs in the country, which employ about 14.9 million Kenyans in various sectors and contribute 40% of the GDP. However, access to funding remains the biggest headache for most SMEs.
Capital is actually designed to help entrepreneurs build and de-risk their businesses so that they don't lose their equity in their business or ownership, if I may. So that is actually quite important.
The investment will provide SMEs with up to 32.2 million shillings in equity funding, along with low-interest loans of up to 19.3 million shillings. 54 Collective is also prioritizing partnerships with African-based investors to ensure sustainable growth and local impact.
And so we'll look at different things. We'll look at, is this a team that has built a company before? If not, do they have a strong connection to the problem that they're looking to solve? Because when you really understand the problem, then you're able to be very innovative about how you actually build a solution.
54 Collective aims to fund at least 50% of women-led ventures across Africa, offering them lower interest rates on loans and additional support. Kenyan entrepreneurs have already been significant beneficiaries of 54 Collective support, receiving approximately 772.5 million shillings in funding since 2023. Alanako, Prime Edition.
As As the 2024 Paralympic Games continue, Team Kenya has represented the country with a contingent of 14 para-athletes and 7 guides, featuring in 5 disciplines: athletics, cycling, taekwondo, rowing, and powerlifting, battling for glory with the world's best. Catch the daily highlights on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Thank you for staying with Prime Edition. And now it's time for sports. And on the other end of the studio, we have Bernard Okumu. Bernard, over to you.
Thank you so much, Nimo. Indeed, it is time for the latest from the sports world. We begin with the good news from France, where para-long jumper Samson Opio bagged Kenya's first medal at the 2024 Paralympic Games in Paris after he won a silver in the long jump T37 class in an African record-breaking feat. The Law University student at Kenyatta University finished second behind Brian Lionel of Argentina and Brazil's Cardoso Mateus, who settled for bronze.
Samson Opio's fourth jump of 6.20 meters at the Stade de France was not only a personal best, but an African record which raised the old mark of 6.05 meters set by South African Andrea Dele Avi in 2015. The law student at Kenyatta University finished second behind Brian Lionel of Argentina and Brazil's Cardoso Mateus, who settled for bronze. This was Kenya's first field event medal since the 2008 Beijing Paralympics, when Mary Nakumicha clinched silver in the F57 javelin throw. The 28-year-old Opio started competing in para-athletics in 2017 and won a silver medal in T37 200 meters and a bronze in the T37 100 meters race at the 2019 International Athletics meeting in Marrakesh, Morocco. He has also participated in 3 World Para-Athletics Championships with no returns before his debut in the Paralympics.
And well done, Samson Opio Ojuka, otherwise known as Buffalo, for the silver. Moving on, over 10,000 local and foreign athletes have registered for the 3rd edition of the Nairobi City Marathon, which has now been certified by the Association of International Marathons and Distance Races, AIMS. Sports Principal Secretary Peter Tum, who graced today's launch in Nairobi, reiterated the government's commitment to supporting the marathon, which will go a long way in marketing the city's sights and sounds.
The 42-kilometer marathon has attracted a total of 731 runners, who include 40 foreigners, while over 3,500 runners have registered for the half marathon. The 10-kilometer race has attracted 4,200 athletes, with the 6-kilometer fun race drawing 1,900 participants. According to the organizers, the total number of participants is expected to rise to 15,000 by the closure of the registration this Saturday. Major roads in and out of the CBD will be closed from Saturday midnight and reopened at 2 p.m. on Sunday, with all the 4 categories also being run across the expressway. Speaking today at the lounge, Sports Principal Secretary Peter Tum reiterated the government's commitment to support the marathon, which is now certified by the Association of International Marathons and Distance Races, AIMS.
That we are monetizing talent, because that is our mandate as a ministry. And that is why we have earmarked over 60 million Kenya shillings from the government to be able to reward those who will win.
The winners of the 42-kilometer marathon will be awarded 3.5 million Kenya shillings, while first runners-up will get 2.2 million and the second runners-up 1.5 million shillings. The cash awards will trickle down to the 22nd finisher, who will be awarded 30,000, both men and women. The 21-kilometer half marathon winners are set to pocket 150,000 Kenyan shillings, first runners up 80,000 shillings, and the second runners up 50,000 shillings. The winners of the 10-kilometer will go home with 100,000, while the first and second runners-up will get 60,000 and 40,000 Kenyan shillings respectively, out of a total prize money of 24 million shillings. Robert Kipkemboi and Naomi Jebet were the winners of the last year's edition of the Nairobi Marathon.
That safeguarding
is a very important policy. And this is a policy that makes sure that athletes, and especially children, are safe from any kind of harm, safe from any kind of abuse, safe from any kind of harassment or exploitation.
For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
Across the borders now, where powerhouse Brazil defeated France 3-0 in the ongoing FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in Colombia. Meanwhile, Mexico beat Australia 2-0, Japan humbled New Zealand 7-0, while Colombia beat Cameroon by 0-0.
Or maybe wrap it up! All over now, surely. Lomeli is there! Before we hit the hour mark. Another cracker. Hayama has been high towards the far post, and there is 7.
And still on soccer, where Phil Foden, Cole Palmer and Ollie Watkins have withdrawn from the England squad ahead of the upcoming Nations League matches. Manchester City forward Foden, who was recently named the PFA Player of the Year, was called up by interim England boss Lee Castley, but did not link up with the squad because of an illness. England Football Association says Chelsea forward Palmer and Aston Villa striker Watkins are both reported for duty at St George's Park, but have returned to their respective clubs to continue their rehabilitation after sustaining injuries. England will face the Republic of Ireland in Dublin this Saturday before hosting Finland at Wembley 3 days later. Well, and in that news from England concerning the upcoming match is how we do it on Sports this lovely evening. Thank you so much for watching. But remember that on Friday, Harambee Stars begin their quest for 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifying in Kampala. They play Zimbabwe. Back to Nemo and Regina to bring it down for us, this lovely edition of Wednesday Prime Edition.
So thank you very much, Bernard, for that update on what is happening. It's good to have that our athletes are still participating in the Paris Olympic Games, at least continuing to bag those medals. So this evening we had asked a no-brainer, so to speak, between a 50 kg bag of cement and a 50 kg bag of feathers. Which one is heavier? Which one do you think, Okumu, is heavier of the two?
Nemo, can I throw it over to you?
Actually, she had asked me the question.
I had asked her, so we are asking you. So which one is heavier?
A bag of cement?
And yes, just there are several of you also who've come online to respond to that question. There's one who says, and this is on X, they said, Geoffrey Kimathi says they're both the same, and I'd want to go. There's also ISO of Man, that is at ISO of Man, who is at E Wambua, who says 50 kg Yamawe. Well, Nemo, can you tell them the answer?
Well, of course, both weigh the same. And of course, it can be an interesting discussion, looking at, of course, the weight. And of course, weight is the measure of course, mass, and mass does not change. Yes. Yeah, so that's the answer. It's the same. It's equal.
So 50 kg bag of cement and the 50 kg bag of feathers are the same. Yes. Please do not think about the contents. It's about the weight. Thank you very much, Nimo Njenga, for that. That puts a cap on matters in the headlines, in as far as news headlines are concerned on Prime Edition this evening. I wish you a pleasant evening ahead.
Great. My name is Nimo Njenga, and of course we'll be looking out for the conversation that President Ruto did have with Abebe Selassie, who is the IMF Director of the African Development. Do look out for that story in our subsequent bulletins. My name is Nimo Njenga. Have a good night.
Yes, indeed. And I'm Bernardo Kumu. Have a restful night.
zawadi za kila wiki, 100,000 kila wiki, 250,000 kila wiki. Uamuzi ni wako. Sasa Loto Moto kwenye holiday bonanza hii inakuletea game mpya kupitia *570# option 4 na ujishindia up to 250,000 Kenyan shillings ukiwa nyumbani, na draw ni ya kila wiki, na kupata tikiti yako ni kupitia *570# pekee option 4, na tikiti yako ikitufikia inaingia ndani ya drum.
Mtazamaji, tumekuandalia taarifa zinazogonga vichwa vya vyombo vya habari kutoka hapa jijini Nairobi na pia mashinani.
Wanahabari zaidi ya ubora wao wako ange kukuletea habari pindi zinapochipuka kutoka pembe zote za Kenya.
Kwenye kipindi cha Tamrini tunakuletea mazungumzo ya moja kwa moja kufafanua na kuangazia masuala yanayokuhusu wewe mtazamaji.
Kumbuka, taarifa yenye thamani daima hupokewa kwa amani.
Hivyo basi usikose kuungana nasi kila siku ya wiki,
tukupakulie na tukutaarifu taarifa yenye mnato kwenye runinga unayoienzi. Kwenye kurunzi mashinani,
sisi DC.
Harambee Stars will kick off their 2025 AFCON qualifiers campaign with a match against Zimbabwe on Friday 6th at the Nelson Mandela Stadium in Kampala, Uganda at 4 p.m. Engine Firak then face Namibia on Tuesday 10th September at the Orlando Stadium in Johannesburg, South Africa at 7 p.m. Catch the matches